All glories to Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta Madhya Lila Chapter 19, Text 145. Tara Madhye Manusya Jatiyati Alpatara Tara Madhye Mlecha Pulinda Baudha Sabara. Although the living entities known as human beings are very small in quantity, that division may be still further subdivided, for there are many uncultured human beings like Mlechas, Pulindas, Baudhas, and Sabaras. 146. Vedanista madhye ardheka vedamuke mane Vedanishidha papakare dharma nahi gane. Among human beings, those who are followers of the Vedic principles are considered civilized. Among these, almost half simply give lip service while committing all kinds of sinful activities against these principles. Such people do not care for the regulative principles. Purport. The word Veda means knowledge. Supreme knowledge consists of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead and our relationship with Him, and acting according to that relationship. Action in accordance with the Vedic principles is called religion. Religion means following the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic principles are the injunctions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Aryans are civilized human beings who have been following the Vedic principles since time immemorial. No one can trace out the history of the Vedic principles set forth so that man might understand the Supreme Being. Literature or knowledge that seeks the Supreme Being can be accepted as a bona fide religious system, but there are many different types of religious systems according to the place, the disciples, and the people's capacity to understand. The highest type of religious system is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6. Thus, Savai Pumsham Paro Dharma Yato Bhaktir Adhokshagje. The highest form of religion is that by which one becomes fully conscious of the existence of God, including His form, name, qualities, pastimes, abode, and all pervasive features. When everything is completely known, that is the perfection of Vedic knowledge. The fulfillment of Vedic knowledge is systematic knowledge of the characteristics of God. This is confirmed by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Vaidescha sarvair aham eva vedya. The aim of Vedic knowledge is to understand God. Therefore, those who are actually following Vedic knowledge and searching after God cannot commit sinful activities against the Supreme Lord's order. However, in this age of Kali, although men profess to belong to so many different kinds of religions, most of them commit sinful activities against the orders of the Vedic scriptures. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says herein, Veda nishidha papakare dharma nahi gane. In this age, men may profess a religion, but they actually do not follow the principles. Instead, they commit all kinds of sins. 147. Dharmachari madhye bhavatu Dharmachari madhye bahuta karma nistala Koti karma nista madhye eka jnanishtresta. Among the followers of Vedic knowledge, most are following the process of fruitive activity and distinguishing between good and bad work. Out of many such sincere fruitive actors, there may be one who is actually wise. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur states that the word karma nista refers to one who aspires to enjoy the results of his good work and pious activity. Some followers of the Vedic principles offer everything to the absolute truth and do not aspire to enjoy the results of their pious actions. These are also considered among the karmanistas. Sometimes we see pious men earn money with great hardship and then spend the money for some pious cause by opening public charities, schools, and hospitals. Whether one earns money for himself or for the public benefit, he is called a karmanista. Out of millions of karmanistas, there may be one who is wise. Those who try to avoid fruitive activity and who become silent in order to merge with the spiritual existence of the absolute truth are generally known as jnanis, wise men. They are not interested in fruitive activity, but in merging into the Supreme. In either case, both the karmanistas and the jnanis are interested in personal benefit. The karmis are directly interested in personal benefit with the material world, and the jnanis are interested in merging into the existence of the Supreme. The jnanis maintain that fruitive activity is imperfect. For them, perfection is the cessation of work and the merging into the Supreme existence. That is their goal in life. The jnani wants to extinguish the distinction between knowledge, the knower, and the aim of knowledge. This philosophy is called monism, or oneness, and is characterized by spiritual silence. (148) Koti jnani madhye haya eka jnana mukta koti mukta madhye dharlabha eka Krishna bhakta. Out of many millions of such wise men, one may actually become liberated, mukta. And out of many millions of such liberated persons, a pure devotee of Lord Krishna is very difficult to find. Purport. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.32, it is said that due to the poor fund of knowledge, the jnanis are not actually liberated. They simply think that they are liberated. The perfection of knowledge culminates when one comes to the platform of knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ameti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabhyate. The absolute truth, Satya Vastu, is described as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Knowledge of an impersonal Brahman and the Supersoul is imperfect until one comes to the platform of knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is therefore clearly said in this verse, Koti mukta madhe dharlabha eka Krishna bhakta. Those who search after the knowledge of the impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma are certainly accepted as liberated, but due to their imperfect knowledge, they are described in Srimad Bhagavatam as vimukta manina. Since their knowledge is imperfect, their conception of liberation is imperfect. Perfect knowledge is possible when one knows the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is supported by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 5.29. Bhoktaram yagya tapasham sarva loka maheswaram swardam sarva bhutanam jadva mam santim rachati. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all the living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Research is going on for the karmis, jnanis, and yogis, but until the search is complete, no one can attain peace. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita says, Jatva mam santim rachati. One can actually attain peace when he knows Krishna. This is described in the next verse. 149. Krishna bhakta nishkama ateva shanta bhuti mukti siddhi kami sakaliya shanta. Because a devotee of Lord Krishna is desireless, he is peaceful. Fruitive workers desire material enjoyment, jnanis desire liberation, and yogis desire material opulence. Therefore, they are all lusty and cannot be peaceful. Purport. The devotee of Lord Krishna has no desire other than serving Krishna. Even so-called liberated people are full of desires. Fruitive actors desire better living accommodations, and jnanis want to be one with the Supreme. Yogis desire material opulence, yogic perfections, and magic. All of these non-devotees are lusty, kami. Because they desire something, they cannot have peace. The peace formula is given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 5.29. Bhoktaram yagya tapasham sarva loka maheswaram sudam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam santim rachati. One who simply understands that throughout the entire universe, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and beneficiary of all kinds of sacrifices, penances, and austerities, which should be performed only to attain his devotional service, that Krishna is the supreme being, and thus the proprietor of all the material worlds, and that Krishna is the only friend who can actually do good to all living entities, Surdam Sarva Bhutanam. One who understands these three principles about Krishna immediately becomes desireless, nishkama, and therefore peaceful. A Krishna Bhakta knows that his friend and protector in all respects is Krishna, who is able to do anything for his devotee. Krishna says, Kaunteya pratigyanhi name bhakta pranashati. O son of Kunti, declare boldly that my devotee never perishes. Since Krishna gives this assurance, the devotee lives in Krishna and has no desire for personal benefit. The background for the devotee is the all-good himself. Why should the devotee aspire for something good for himself? His only business is to please the Supreme by rendering as much service as possible. A Krishna Bhakta has no desire for his own personal benefit. He is completely protected by the Supreme. Abhasya Rakshibe Krishna Vishvasa Palana. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that he is desireless because Krishna will give him protection in all circumstances. It is not that he expects any assistance from Krishna. He simply depends on Krishna just as a child depends on his parents. The child does not know how to expect service from his parents, but he is always protected nevertheless. This is called nishkama, desirelessness. Although karmis, jnanis, and yogis fulfill their desires by performing various activities, they are never satisfied. A karmi may work very hard to acquire $1 million, but as soon as he gets $1 million, he desires another million. For the karmis, there is no end of desire. The more the karmi gets, the more he desires. The jnanis cannot be desireless because their intelligence is unsound. They want to merge into the Brahman effulgence, but even though they may be raised to that platform, they cannot be satisfied there. There are many jnanis or sannyasis who, after taking sannyas and giving up the world as false, return to the world to engage in politics, philanthropy, or open schools and hospitals. This means that they cannot attain the real Brahman, Brahma Satya. They have to come down to the material platform to engage in philanthropic activity. Thus they again cultivate desires, and when these desires are exhausted, they desire something different. Therefore, the jnani cannot be nishkama, desireless, nor can the yogis be desireless, for they desire yogic perfections in order to exhibit some magical feats and gain popularity. People gather around these yogis, and the yogis desire more and more adulation. Because they misuse their mystic power, they fall down again to the material platform. It is not possible for them to become nishkama, desireless. The conclusion is that only the devotees who are simply satisfied in serving the Lord can actually become desireless. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says here, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama. Since the Krishna Bhakta, the devotee of Krishna, is satisfied with Krishna, there is no possibility of fall down. 150. Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana sudurlabha prashantatna kotishvapi mahamuni. Kotishapi Mahamune. O great sage, out of many millions of materially liberated people who are free from ignorance, and out of many millions of siddhas who have nearly attained perfection, There is hardly one pure devotee of Narayana. Only such a devotee is actually completely satisfied and peaceful. Purport. This verse is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 6.14.5. The Narayana Parayana, the devotee of Lord Narayana, is the only blissful person. One who becomes a Narayana Parayana is already liberated from material bondage. He already possesses all the perfections of yoga. Unless one comes to the platform of Narayana Parayana and passes over the platform of Bhukti Mukti Siddhi, he cannot be fully satisfied. This is the pure devotional stage. Anyabilasita sunyam jana karma jnanavatam anukulyena krishnanu silanam bhaktir utama. One who desires nothing but Krishna and one who is not influenced by the process of Jnana Marga, cultivation of knowledge, actually becomes free from ignorance. A first-class person is one who is not influenced by karma, fruit of activity, or yoga, mystic power. He simply depends on Krishna and is satisfied in his devotional service. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 6.17.28, Narayana parasarve nakochana vibhayati. Such a person is never afraid of anything. For him, heaven and hell are the same. Not knowing the situation of Narayana Parayana, rascals become envious. By the grace of Narayana, a devotee is situated in the most opulent position in the material world. Rascals are envious of Narayana and his devotee, but the devotee endeavors to please another devotee of Narayana because he knows that by pleasing Narayana's representative, one directly pleases Lord Narayana. Therefore, a devotee offers the best comforts and facilities to his spiritual master. Outsiders who have no knowledge of Narayana are envious of both Narayana and his devotee. Consequently, when they see that Narayana's devotee is opulently situated, they become even more envious. But when the devotee of Narayana asks such foolish people to come live with him in the same comfortable situation, they do not agree because they cannot give up illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Therefore, the materialist refuses the company of a Narayana Parayana, although he is envious of the devotee's material situation. In Western countries, when ordinary men, storekeepers and workers, see our devotees living and eating sumptuously and yet not working, they become very eager to know where they get the money. Such people become envious and ask, how is it possible to live so comfortably without working? How is it you have so many cars, bright faces, and nice clothes? Not knowing that Krishna looks after his devotees, such people become surprised and become envious. 151. Ramananda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prashade Paya Bhakti Lata Bija. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. Purport. When we speak of Brahmananda, we refer to the whole universe. When we speak of Brahmanda, we refer to the whole universe, or to the cluster of many millions of universes. In all the universes there are innumerable planets, and there are innumerable living entities. Upon those planets, on the air and on land and in the water, there are millions and trillions of living entities everywhere, and they are engaged by Maya in suffering and enjoying the results of their fruitive activity. Life after life, this is the position of the materially conditioned living entities. Out of many of these living entities, one who is actually fortunate, Bhagyavan, comes in contact with the bona fide spiritual master by Krishna's mercy. Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, and if one desires something, Krishna fulfills one's desire. If the living entity, by chance or fortune, comes in contact with Krishna consciousness, with the Krishna consciousness movement, If the living entity by chance or fortune comes in contact with the Krishna consciousness movement and wishes to associate with that movement, Krishna, who is situated in everyone's heart, gives him the chance to meet a bona fide spiritual master. This is called Guru Krishna Prasada. Krishna is prepared to bestow his mercy upon all living entities, and as soon as a living entity desires the Lord's mercy, the Lord immediately gives him an opportunity to meet a bona fide spiritual master. Such a fortunate person is fortified by both Krishna and the spiritual master. He is helped from within by Krishna and from without by the spiritual master. Both are prepared to help the sincere living being become free from material bondage. How one can become this fortunate can be seen in the life of Srila Narada Muni. In his previous life, he was born of a maidservant. Although he was not born into a prestigious position, his mother was fortunately engaged in rendering service to some Vaishnavas. When these Vaishnavas were resting during the Chaturmasya period, the boy Narada took the opportunity to engage in their service. Taking compassion upon the boy, the Vaishnavas offered him the remnants of their food. By serving these Vaishnavas and obeying their orders, the boy became the object of their sympathy, and by the Vaishnavas' unknown mercy, he gradually became a pure devotee. In the next life, he was Narada Muni, the most exalted of Vaishnavas and the most important guru and acharya of Vaishnavas. Following in the footsteps of Narada Muni, this Krishna consciousness movement is rendering service to humanity by giving everyone a chance to come in contact with Krishna. If one is fortunate, he becomes intimately related with this movement. Then, by the grace of Krishna, one's life becomes successful. Everyone has dormant Krishna Bhakti, love for Krishna, and in the association of good devotees, that love is revealed. As stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrta Madhya lila 22.107, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Siddhya Kabunaya Shravhanadi Sudha Chite Karaye Udaya. Dormant devotional service to Krishna is within everyone. Simply by associating with devotees, hearing their good instructions, and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, dormant love for Krishna is awakened. In this way, one acquires the seed of devotional service. Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lapta Bija. 152. Malihana Kare Sei Bija Aropana Shravana Kirtana Jale Karaye Se Chana. When a person receives the seed of devotional service, he should take care of it by becoming a gardener and sowing the seed in his heart. If he waters the seed gradually by the process of Shravana and Kirtana, hearing and chanting, the seed will begin to sprout. Purport. To live with devotees or to live in a temple means to associate with the Shravana Kirtana process. Sometimes the neophyte devotees think that they can continue the Shravana Kirtana process without worshipping the deity. But the execution of such Shravana Kirtana is meant for highly developed devotees like Haridas Thakur, who engaged in the Shravana Kirtana process without worshipping the deity. However, one should not falsely imitate Haridas Thakur and abandon deity worship just to try to engage in Shravana Kirtana. This is not possible for neophyte devotees. The word Guru Prasada indicates that the spiritual master is very merciful in bestowing the boon of devotional service upon the disciple. That is the best possible gift the spiritual master has to offer. Those with the background of pious life are eligible to receive life's supreme benefit. To bestow this benefit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead sends his representative to impart his mercy. Endowed with the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master distributes the mercy to those who are elevated and pious. Thus, the spiritual master trains his disciple to render devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Guru Kripa. It is Krishna Prasad, Krishna's mercy, that he sends a bona fide spiritual master to the deserving disciple by the mercy of Krishna. One meets the bona fide spiritual master, and by the mercy of the spiritual master, the disciple is fully trained in devotional service of the Lord. Bhakti Lata Bija means the seed of devotional service. Everything has an original cause, or seed. For any idea, program, plan, or device, there is first of all the contemplation of the plan, and that is called bija, or seed. The methods, rules, and regulations by which one is perfectly trained in devotional service constitute the Bhakti Lata Bija, or the seed of devotional service. This Bhakti Lata Bija is received from the spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. Other seeds called Anya Bilasa Bija include Karma Bija and Gyan Bija. If one is not fortunate enough to receive the Bhakti Lata Bija from the spiritual master, he instead cultivates such seeds as Karma Bija, Gyan Bija, or political, social, or philanthropic Bijas. However, the Bhakti Lata Bija is different from these other Bijas. The Bhakti Lata Bija can be received only through the mercy of the spiritual master. Therefore, one has to satisfy the spiritual master to get the Bhakti Lata Bija. Dasya Prashadat Bhagavat Prashadaha. The Bhakti Lata Bija is the origin of devotional service. Unless one satisfies the spiritual master, he gets the bija, or the root cause of karma, gyan, and yoga, without the benefit of devotional service. But one who is faithful to his spiritual master gets the Bhakti Lata Bija. This Bhakti Lata Bija is received when one is initiated by the bona fide spiritual master. After receiving the spiritual master's mercy, one must repeat his instructions, and this is called Shravana Kirtana, hearing and chanting. One who has not properly heard from the spiritual master, or who does not follow the regulative principles, is not fit for chanting, Kirtana. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita 2.41. Vyavasyatmika buddhir eka kuru nandana. One who has not listened carefully to the instructions of the spiritual master is unfit for chanting or for preaching a cult of devotional service. One has to water the Bhakti Lata Bija by receiving instructions from the spiritual master. 153. Upajiya Badelata Brahmanda Bedhihaya Viraja Brahma Loka Bedhi Paravyoma Paya. As one waters the Bhakti Lata Bija, the seed sprouts and the creeper gradually grows to the point where it penetrates the walls of this universe and goes beyond the Viraja river, lying between the spiritual world and the material world. It attains Brahma Loka, the Brahmana effulgence, and penetrating through that stratum, it reaches the spiritual sky and the spiritual planet Goloka Vrindavan. Purport. A creeper generally takes the shelter of a big tree, but the Bhakti Lata, being the creeper of spiritual energy, cannot take shelter of any material planet. For there is no tree on any material planet that the Bhakti creeper can utilize for shelter. In other words, devotional service cannot be utilized for any material purpose. Devotional service is meant only for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes men with a poor fund of knowledge maintain that bhakti can be applied to material things. In other words, they say that devotional service can be rendered to one's country or to the demigods, but this is not a fact. Devotional service is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it is beyond this material range. There is a river or a causal ocean between the spiritual and material natures, and this river is free from the influence of the three modes of material nature. Therefore, it is called Viraja. The prefix V means Vigata, completely eradicated, and Rajas means the influence of the material world. On this platform, a living entity is completely free from material entanglement. For the jnanis who want to merge into the Brahmana effulgence, there is Brahma Loka. The Bhakti Lata, however, has no shelter in the material world, nor has it shelter in Brahma Loka, although Brahma Loka is beyond the material world. The Bhakti Lata grows until it reaches the spiritual sky, where Goloka Vrindavan is situated. 154. Tadeyaya tad upari Goloka Vrindavan Krishna Charana Kalpa Vrikshe Kare Arohana. Being situated in one's heart and being watered by Shravana Kirtana, the Bhakti creeper grows more and more. In this way, it attains the shelter of the desire tree of the lotus feet of Krishna, who is eternally situated in the planet known as Goloka Vrindavan, in the topmost region of the spiritual sky. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita 5.37, it is said, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhis Tabir Yaeva Nijarupa Kalabihi Goloka Eva Nivasatya Kilatma Bhuto Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. He resides in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure, and who embodies the ecstatic potency, Radhini. Their companions are her confidants, who embody extensions of her bodily form, and who are imbued and permeated with ever blissful spiritual rasa. In the spiritual world, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, has expanded himself by his spiritual potency. He has his eternal form of bliss and knowledge, Satchidananda Vigraha. Everything in Goloka Vrindavan planet is a spiritual expansion of Satchidananda. Everyone there is of the same potency, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. The relationship between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his servitor is Chinmaya Rasa. Krishna and his entourage and paraphernalia are of the same Chinmaya potency. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is expanded throughout the spiritual world. And when that Chinmaya Rasa potency expands through the material potency, it becomes all-pervading. The idea is that although the Supreme Personality of Godhead exists on his own planet, Goloka Vrindavan, he is also present everywhere. Andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam. He is present within all the universes, although they are innumerable, and he is also present within the atom. Isvaraha sarva bhutanam hridesha rujana tistati. He is also present within the heart of all living entities. This is his all-pervasive potency. Goloka Vrindavan is the highest planet in the spiritual world. In order to go to the spiritual world after penetrating the covering of the material universe, one must penetrate Brahmaloka, the spiritual effulgence. Then one can come to the Goloka Vrindavan planet. There are also other planets in the spiritual world called Vaikuntha planets, and on these planets Lord Narayana is worshipped with awe and veneration. On these planets, Shantaras is prevalent, and some of the devotees are also connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Dasiras, the mellow of servitorship. As far as the mellow of fraternity is concerned, in Vaikuntha, this rasa is represented by Gaura Vasakya, friendship in awe and veneration. The other fraternity rasa, exhibited in Visramba, friendship and equality, is found in the Goloka Vrindavan planet. Above that is service to the Lord in Vatsalya Ras, parental love. And above all this is the relationship with the Lord in the Madhurya Ras, conjugal love. These 5 rasas are fully exhibited in the spiritual world, in one's relationship with the Lord. Therefore, in the spiritual world, the Bhakti creeper finds its resting place at the lotus feet of Krishna. Thus ends our reading for today. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj ki jai. All glories to Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna.